All right, first of all, I would like to welcome everybody here right now. I want to let y'all introduce yourselves. I haven't got a set name yet, but we're gonna call it re-SPECT with Jazmine Houston. And today we're just gonna examine a lot of different issues that have been on my mind. Some of the things are current and they're going on right now, but we're just gonna let it be like a free form conversation, and we're gonna go from there. So I'm Jazmine Houston. My wonderful cameraman over here is not going to the mic, but that's Cole. And we also have,
JayVee the Prince. How y'all doing?
All right.
all right, and over here we have
Al Lewis.
Mr. Al, Mr. Al. I'm just playing. Go ahead, Mr. Black.
And you just said it. I'm Mr. Black.
And last but not least,
TNT.
all right.
You're
So-
going to have to pull this over.
If you want to, you could go to that microphone over there. But anyway, y'all, so I want to go ahead and get started. It's been a while since I've done a broadcast. Y'all know we just got off air around June. And it's been like a long time since I've done this, but I definitely want to get it started back up. And I figured that the first conversation we should have is something about what's been going on like in America right now. So I'm pretty sure all of you all know about the things that have happened in Charlottesville recently. Mr. Black, right?
Yes.
And what's your first response to it, or your first reaction?
I think that as long as you've known me, and as long as those of you who know me have known me, I have been suggesting that this is about to happen.
And what is that exactly? What's about to
A
happen?
confrontation
Of what?
of people who want to confront each other with their ignorance.
True.
Right. I mean, all you're looking at is a bunch of folks who believe something.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're not knowers, because knowledgeable people would not be behaving like this. And as long as you keep not knowing and you just believing, then sooner or later, 9 times out of 10, you are going to become violent. And this particular violence is now getting ready to be a two-way street. In the past, it has only been aimed at the people that I'm relative to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just necessarily talking about so-called black people. I'm relative to other folks. You know, the ones that actually took the black folks in when the black folks was running from the violence that was being perpetrated on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they ran to the other folks that I'm relative to, you know. And then they had the nerve to be violent toward them also.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm suggesting now that those folks that they were violent, you know, the Buffalo Soldiers, they were violent toward them, and they had received all this violence. Well, now the people who have been perpetuating the violence probably are getting ready to run into some violence.
So you think that it's bloodshed in our future, or what type of violence do you see coming, or happening?
The same violence that's been here all the time.
Do you think it's gonna be the same level, or it's
No,
gonna be worse, or?
no. Now it's not going to be aimed at any one group. It is going to be aimed in a lot of different directions. Yes,
Free for all.
yes. Now understand, if people would actually do the work and educate themselves to a point to where they get over the ignorance, then 9 times out of 10, you could stop this. That's happening now.
So when you said like free for all, JayVee, you made me think of like The Purge. Have you ever seen that, Mr.
No,
Black?
no.
Well, it was basically like a movie where people could kill each other and stuff for 24 hours. You think it's gonna be on that level, or
No. See, the killing has been going on relative to the people that I am relative to. I think, what's her name? Ida B. Wells. She came out of Memphis and Holly Springs.
Mm-hmm.
I think she said that hundreds, thousands of people every year, not over the period of time that they have this, in the records. But if you go to some other records, what you'll find is that those numbers that they published in their records were very low. But it's been going on all the time. It's not getting ready to happen. It's been happening.
I think
About the
perhaps
wording,
I
yeah.
think perhaps what I'm also hearing you suggesting is that people that it had been happening to are deciding that that'll no longer happen to them without recourse.
The reason we're sitting in this studio right now across the street from Stax Records is because at some point people had gotten tired of it happening to them. And they actually start creating something so that it would stop happening to them. Now, at this point, it's about to go to a whole nother level because people will not stop believing nonsense, and they're willing to hurt each other about their ignorant beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really simple.
So what impact do you think us actually seeing people come out with, I would say, hatred and bigotry, like publicly for everyone to see, what type of effect or impact do you think that will have?
Well, what I think, the hatred and bigotry that you're seeing now, it's been here all the time.
Festering.
It has never not been here. But the one thing that I think also that is here finally, I just asked this young man, did he know the alphabet? And as long as you've known me, I think one of the first things that I was asking you when you were a younger person, what do the letters in the alphabet mean? And until we get ready to actually do the work and find out, then we'd best get ready to do what else you was talking about with Brother Al, about you ready to go and
to the rain.
yeah.
Practice on your aim.
Either you do that or you get busy and learn something. One of the two. You're not going to wish this away because you want to love everybody. I'm first of all saying that you do not understand the word love. You have no desire to do the work that allows you to understand it. The best definitions that you have for the word love is a Bobby Womack song.
And I always talk about love versus expectations too.
Ain't that something?
Yeah, like when you expect stuff that ain't love. Love is just going straight in, you know? That's how I feel like love is. And like as far as love for like each other out here, it's hard. It's hard to love. It's hard to love our own people, you know what I'm saying? Because I could love you, but you could also hurt me just because you've never experienced love. So I definitely understand that we don't know what love is. And I'll be the first to tell you, like, we don't, like, firsthand, we don't know nothing about it. Differently, you know what I'm saying?
Different don't mean it's not equal.
Exactly.
I don't love you, you know, more or less.
Honestly, like, our generation, our brain is just malfunctioning.
Well, I ain't gonna say mine.
No, I'm just saying, like, we like the greatest, we're like the greatest crazy people I know. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have barriers, but we wish people would put some there because we don't know when to stop.
Jay, I'd like to comment on what you just said. Is that's not by accident. That's been by design. That's part of what your educational system, aided by this construct, has constructed to happen. And what happens is once you get what I call acute generational ignorance, then the people that don't know that they don't know to tell the people that don't know.
And so how many people gonna admit they don't know?
Oh man.
Well, we have a class on just learn how to say, I don't know.
I don't know.
Seriously, we do.
We have a class.
I love it.
Yeah. And it's hard to get people to admit that they don't know.
But once you start seeing the trend of people saying I don't know, then you know when a person don't know.
Exactly.
He don't know.
He don't know, bro. He don't know. Leave him alone. He don't know.
Why is it important, Ms. Black, to say that you don't know?
Well, first of all, because people, when they interact with each other, they want to be perceived as powerful. And so they want the other person to think, well, I already know that. And that gives a sense of power. But now, here are powerless people. They've been powerless for generations, faking like they're powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll never admit, I don't know something.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tell you, oh, see, that ain't important.
Yeah. Like what does A mean?
A-
Like what does A mean?
Why you gotta know what A means?
I mean, hey, don't Apple.
And the thing about that is, when you say to them, well, wouldn't it be wise for you to help your children to learn that the letters that you write with, think with, actually came from an African hieroglyphic, which means the letter A comes from Africa.
Now wait a minute. Hold on. Say that again.
The letter A originates in the African
But you said
hieroglyphic.
initially that not only does the letters that you write with,
And speak with.
but you said the letters that you think
Think with.
that you think with.
Yeah. Well, see, in order to speak, you have to think, because a thought is the cause of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you are thinking, especially if you are thinking with language,
Mm-hmm.
then there are letters involved in the language. Now, me personally, I did have the, I don't know, I guess I got a chance to learn how to think in pictures.
Mm-hmm. Logos.
Because if you think in logos, you're thinking as God thinks.
Logos.
And if you can think as God thinks and then speak as God thinks, then you can create, because now you're in the image of a creator. And if you're creating, you're producing, and if you're producing, you're inventing, and now we're doing something.
Then if everybody could get on one accord and just build their tower to heaven, huh?
Even if they don't get on one accord, if they can just agree, just to quit hurting each other about nonsense, and to try to learn something and teach their children something, then 9 times out of 10, I think you're talking about a road to power that's real.
You know, it kind of reminds me of when I first met that young brother over there, Clifford, and some of the young activists began to say, we don't want the bread, we want the bakery. We don't want the tree, we want the whole forest. And that requires that we think in
Another way.
a whole nother way, because if not, here, what is this, 2017, and so-called black people only control less than 1% of the receipts in the city of Memphis, with almost 64% populated by so-called black people.
They're still asking for 10% of the contracts in the city. You just told me you're over 50% of the population, but you're asking for less than 10% of the contracts. You got to be insane.
That is insanity. That's planned insanity.
But then let's say
Organized chaos.
yes, let's say they give you an opportunity to get the contracts. Now, at this point, if you have not bothered to learn how to think in another way, you're going to do the same thing you've been doing. And so far, you've been doing things like eating bricks. You know, I'm serious. They build a project, you know, and they say it's for you. Well, the projects are gone now.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, they tore them down. I'm suggesting you were destroying the projects long before they tore them down.
Trojan horse.
It's a funny thing. But I'm also suggesting that if we actually start to educate ourselves outside of their particular way of constructing the way we educate ourselves, things will change.
But what can I ask? What does that mean? You saying the way they have constructed?
Like how they make a 80% a A.
Yes.
Like that's a B minus.
Or 18 on the ACT, you get a party.
Yeah.
But now, when I went to school, I know it's different now for you young people, but when I was going to school, if you made a 50 on the test, I think you failed.
Yeah, I think ain't it? You
Just fail that test, you fail half the next test.
yeah, you ain't going to the next class.
But now the city of Memphis, the state of Tennessee, will give you scholarship money if you make a 19 on the test. Well, if the top score is what, 36?
36.
Well, that means you just made a 50.
50. Oh.
Yeah.
So that's an F.
Yeah.
So you fail. but they're going to give you a scholarship. Something wrong with that one.
That's beautiful.
And then not
You failed,
only
but you
that,
passed.
the state is not allowing you to actually understand that the alphabet that you speak and write with originates in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm talking to so-called black people about this, and they get upset. But yet, if you go look in a World Book Encyclopedia, in the first book, like if this is the book for the letter A, when you get to the point of the insert for that letter, they start out with the alphabet. And they give you a chronology of the letter, where it originated, what it means, everything. But now if this is in the encyclopedia, the World Book Encyclopedia, it's in all your dictionaries, why isn't it in our brains?
So
Because
Mr.
it
Black,
wasn't
I would
given.
like to interrupt. And I want to say this for this reason. We talk about, now they're talking about revisionist history and such like that, but nobody ever remotely suggested to me until I met you. And nobody asked me the question, what does A mean? I never thought. And I saw those symbols. I'd seen them before, but I didn't know how they were connected or what they meant.
The average person that I ask the question to, they tell me all the time, they say, it means alpha. So the first thing I say to them is, wait a minute, why are you telling me what that preacher told you?
The Alpha and the Omega.
And so I asked them, okay, well, what does alpha mean? Alpha's the first. So my next statement after that is, first what? Because if you tell me that something is the first, it has to be the first something.
Mhm.
And so now people are at a quite, they're just,
Wouldn't it be the first letter?
of what? The first letter of what? Of an alphabet?
Yeah.
Which alphabet? So they say the first letter of the Greek alphabet. Okay, no problem. What's the second?
I don't know. Is it an S?
What's the third? What's the fourth? You see, if in fact you're going to learn the alphabet, you need to learn all of the characters and letters.
So we basically got to reprogram our entire
Basically.
being in order to.
So you've
learn
got to
something.
unlearn
Mhm.
so that you can get ready
Unhappen. So you can
to
unhappen.
relearn. Yes.
Deconstruct to reconstruct.
You must. And or deprogram so that you can reprogram yourself for yourself.
All right. By yourself.
And we are going to have to learn a strategy to do that. Right now, I have been on this radio show with Miss Jazmine a few times, and she has had me with people who already know everything.
I will openly tell you, I'm an idiot. And I believe that everybody is kind of an idiot. And
No problem.
And the only way you can not be an idiot is to understand that everybody ain't really that smart. We just know, we just understand more than the next person. Nobody knows anything because there is no original thoughts. You know what I'm saying?
But how about this? How about if we actually do classes with each other in such a way so that you might actually learn what understanding actually is
I'll be down.
and how to do it, how to get to that point of understanding. We tell a story all the time about understanding. When you were a child, they were dragging you off to church, right?
Day club.
Day club, church, whatever. But they would drag you there and they would tell you something about get a particular, above all getting, get what?
Understanding.
Oh, so they were telling you in church, right?
Well, no,
They didn't tell you that in church.
because I didn't go, but
Oh, okay. But now the point is, do you know how to understand something?
Accept it.
If you accept something, you just believe. If you use belief, there's no way possible for you to understand.
wow.
To
Whoa,
understand
wait.
it, you have
Hold on. Are you suggesting that I can't know something if I believe it?
It's impossible.
Why? Why is that impossible?
Belief has nothing to do with knowledge.
It doesn't
No.
at all.
No,
It's
at all.
straight faith.
And then when someone says, well, what is knowledge? I think that in order to understand, we'd have to start with the Greek word called gnosis. I'm almost sure. Then we have to find out where gnosis, that word, comes from. And it's the center of the Greek language and of Greek study or learning or information. Now, if we go to an island called Crete, and if we look Crete up in the dictionary, it will tell you that the original name of this island was Gnosis. And the reason that Gnosis originated on this island is because these Africans out of Egypt, they used to have a summer palace.
Retreat. That was their retreat center. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they had these goat herders that would come over from the mainland, and they would keep their goats and property and everything. And these people that you call the Greeks that would come and would do the maintenance for these Africans, they got to paying attention to what these Africans were doing, and they said, wow, we need to know this stuff. We need to learn this. So on the Isle of Gnosis, which becomes the word in English, Gnosis, they started actually putting together the knowledge of these Africans. And now when you get it from the 17th and 18th centuries where someone rewrote everything
watered it down.
and just made a lot of stuff up and then handed to you and say, oh, Aristotle invented this. Herodotus invented this. And this is nonsense. These people that you call the Greeks had to learn something from somewhere. And they learned on the Isle of Gnosis, which becomes the word Gnosis, which means knowledge. But knowledge means that you trust yourself. Belief means that you trust another, someone else. And at this point in our lives, I don't think we have time to believe anyone about anything.
Well, haven't we been doing that since we've been here?
You mean believing?
Yeah, I mean that's what I've heard since I've been on the planet.
Well,
Just believe.
some of you have been doing that, but the
Come on,
ones
Doc,
that
you
were
have to bust
running,
me out.
the ones that were running, and the ones that were fighting, yeah, well, they wouldn't believe in anything. They were trying to get power.
Like those brothers and sisters in Stono,
Yeah.
they were trying to get power.
And like Stono, I think it happened down in New Orleans,
in Louisiana, yeah.
and it's happened all over this country.
And the individual times that this happened that didn't get told. I mean, those brothers on those prison farms that people love to call plantations.
Well,
Some of them, decided that ain't gonna be no whooping today.
ain't that something? And they ran.
So I wanted to go back to what you said about belief. And it seems like that's one thing that can tear people apart, like make them go at each other. So why is
belief.
everyone...
Belief can?
Yeah,
Yes,
so
you're
why
right.
does it have that effect to where people actually want to become violent towards each
Because
other?
What you call it, acute generational ignorance. That's what it is. Like
Yes.
my belief and your belief is different. Like that's what, like honestly,
Like
when it comes to religion, like this my God, that's your God. Let's fight to see who's better. You know what I'm
Ain't that
saying? Like, but I don't really understand that either because like the Greeks, I kind of dig that. Like that sounds way more logical. Like 8 to 9 gods working together. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that sounds more logical than just this is mine, and if you disobey this, then smite. You know, I don't know. It's just iffy. Makes me feel weird knowing
Well,
that.
we actually do classes for people who don't know to learn how to know.
Let me interject something on that about class relative to just to even something as sensitive as belief in religion. Years ago, we were at Java's Youth and Jazz, and it was our task to transliterate certain portions of the Bible. Now, what I found strange was that there became a merging point where certain passages out of the Helios Biblos, Biblos, the Bhagavad Gita,
Sun book or something? What's Helios? What is
When
it?
you say sun book, you've said, I think you're saying the book of Ra. All right, so Helios is sun, and Biblos is book. So we took it to Greek, and we get Helios Biblos. But in order to break the word apart all the way, you have to start where you are. You're at Holy Bible. The words holy and Bible, I think, actually come from Old High German. And they come into English, and you have to trace it step by step. And holy, I think, traces to hail, heil, heal.
heal,
Whole.
healthy.
Yes, healthy. It can be, and once you get the root of healthy, you will get heal. And once you understand the last letter on whole, which is a Y, if you've gone to school at all, you know that a Y represents ing. And so ing represents action. So the first part of the word, whole, it comes out healing. And you can't make it be anything else.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what you
Yeah.
do.
No matter what you do.
That's what it is.
I thought it was that book you got to know before you die.
Heal.
Basic instructions before leaving Earth, they say.
And that's something. But now the important thing about this is, if the book is a healing book, we'd better know what's in there that has the power to heal, so that we can get busy learning how to use that power. And now we've got something to work with. Right now, all we got is a bunch of mumbo jumbo coming from some people who learned about this thing from some Scottish hillbillies that came down out of the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh, Mr. Black.
What is it?
Man, you-
Wait a minute, it was in a comic book. His name was Snuffy. Seriously. Y'all do know who Snuffy was,
Snuffy
right?
Smith and
Snuffy Smith.
Bonnie Google.
And
Yeah, that was their name, Bonnie Google.
Lil Abner.
Lil Abner. All them
Yeah.
came out of there.
Well, you know where Ebonics comes from, right?
Ebonics, no.
Dog Patch with Lil Abner and Snuffy, and that's where Ebonics.
Like newspaper comics.
Yeah, that's where it originates. It does not come out from a brother in St. Louis who was trying to get a curriculum started in Oakland, California.
Yeah. They just didn't have enough room to write the whole words.
Well, kind of. They were. You're right. There were contractions.
Yeah.
So you know what you're saying when you say goodbye, then, right? What is it?
No, what am I saying when I say
God be with
goodbye?
What did you say?
God be with you.
God be with you. That's what you're actually saying. But instead, what you say is goodbye. So you've made a contraction out of the word.
That's in the dictionary. If you look in the dictionary, that's what it says. God be with you.
And if
My
you look,
brain
and
is
if
like on
you-
this table.
well, good. and I'm telling you, we don't want to frighten anyone or anything, because when you have, a lot of belief crammed down in you,
Yeah, people only scared when they don't know.
can you dig it?
Or if it challenges what they've been predisposed to
Yeah,
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully, again, we have a class, but we have to learn how to behave in class. Truly. See, 'cause what I'll do is, like, we're in here, I've been in here before, and we were in here with a whole bunch of folks that my child over there, Jazmine, she didn't explain the rules to them. So because they were behaving like they were behaving, Jazmine, tell them what I did.
Counts
You
the
talking
cake.
about the flat Earth stuff?
That stuff and other things, but that in particular. But what I'm saying is, when that happens, I will just shut up.
Yeah.
I won't say anything. There's no sense in me talking if
know
you're not
everything.
willing to do the work to learn something. Why am I talking?
And it was like they was challenging Doc, but then asking him questions. Like, shit, you know everything. What's the point of even asking?
You
me?
can't
know
learn. That's
everything.
the thing. If you can't formulate those three words in your brain, the brain, first of all, loves to lie. I'm saying the brain loves to lie because it has
Y'all hear that?
it has to create
y'all
so
lies,
much
Y'all brain love to lie.
to make it, right now. If you're looking out of your eyes, there are certain spots, certain positions that your eyes don't see, and so what it does is it creates the picture based on what it believes
It's
is
right.
there.
To finish.
That's how magicians can
How
use.
sleight of hand.
Yes, it's called prestidigitation or legerdemain. That's how magicians do that, because they know there's certain spots that the brain doesn't see, and so it confabulates what it thinks is there. It does the same thing with information. I used to be a professional investigator. I would ask people about what happened in an incident, right? And the part that they didn't know, they would initially say they didn't know. But as soon as they talked to somebody else and somebody else told them what they didn't see, they were convinced, because the brain creates that kind of picture that they saw it that way, and they forgot, literally, and they weren't lying. They forgot that you told them. Seriously.
So what you saying is, life is literally just an old man pulling a nickel from behind my ear.
Big lie.
That's all life is. Every day, just look, here you go.
For most people. or it's a man behind the curtain with some levers.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And we've got to learn how to figure all this out
Yeah.
so we can see for ourselves.
Tone and peace, God.
So at the summit that we did a couple weeks for the media, I know like a big thing, one of the agendas was to just get people to not report stories with like some type of race attached to it, if I'm not
Well, that's real hard because the people reporting the stories, they actually believe that they have been indoctrinated with. And when they're doing the story, that's what they're feeling that they're seeing. And so now they're right the way they're seeing it. When in fact, a lot of times, that's not really what they're seeing. You know, what they see when they look at this young man is his complexion. They don't see him.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what's behind his complexion.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they see.
Mm-hmm.
Once they see that, they stop thinking that there's something there that they really need to know. And so, in fact, they won't let him know them.
So then, isn't that an aspect of evil?
Evil.
But we call it racism.
No, you call it devil.
White supremacy.
You call it the evil. You call it the devil. You said, you see, I just said it twice.
Mm-hmm.
I said the devil, and I said devil.
Mm-hmm.
Devil is devil. So I said the D, it's in French, and it comes out the veil. So I've said it twice, devil. And the reason we don't know that we're saying the veil or the evil is because we're too ignorant to get up off our asses and go and unlock the language so that we can truly see what's there.
So when we're saying, when we're casting this net of that we're calling racism over these things, but the actions that they're committing are actions of evil predicated on ignorance and
Absolute evil.
And so why call it racism?
I don't know.
Why not just call it? See, it's hard to
Yeah,
play.
'cause racism would kind of be like us versus the apes, right?
Yes.
It's some
the
insanity.
real race.
You know, and this is what they formulated to counter your. Oh, now you're playing the race card. But instead of you saying no, goddammit, I'm playing the evil, hateful card. Now trump that because that's what your actions are.
That's
You
right.
said
Evil.
it.
Yeah.
Trump that.
Yeah, for real.
Trump that.
And if we ever want to get away from all of this nonsense that's going on about race and racism and who's the racist and all the rest of that, all we got to do is get rid of race. You know, and then people say, well, how you going to do that? You can't get rid of race. Why not?
Why
Did
not?
somebody put it there?
That man, this brother.
I know that I can get rid of it out of my thoughts.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
You got some people that think by denouncing race or racism that you're wiping away the so-called black people.
And you're being weak.
And you
If they think that, then they're depending on their ignorance to guide them through this.
That's
No one is going to get through this insisting on being ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to
Wow.
happen.
Oh, dog, that hurt.
Insisting on being ignorant. Like just
Insisting.
want to live in bliss on purpose.
And I know that I got some friends. I do. I have some partners, and they are they ready for anything. But here's what I keep hollering to my friends because they are people that I love.
Stop,
right?
man. Stop. You messing with
What? No. Here's what I keep suggesting to everybody. We're outnumbered.
me. Absolutely.
And we're outnumbered in a way that is going to be hard to deal with if you're going to do it that way.
That's not a wise thing to do.
It's not.
No.
I am trying and have been trying for years to get our children to learn in such a way so that when they grow up, they're going to be like Storm. You know Storm? You know, did you ever meet Storm? What?
You talking about a rapper?
Well, no, wait. What
he
did
said
you
out
say?
the X-Man.
That's Storm. That's her. That's her name is Aurora. Her name is Aurora. Aurora, and I think she Nigerian or Kenyan, but her father is Nigerian, and her mother I think might be Egyptian or something. And anyway, she actually has to grow up from a child by herself because her parents get killed in a car accident. And she she learns how to do some things with this thing that you have inside of you, you know. And some of us, matter of fact, before I go there, where's the mind?
The mind.
Yes. If the mind is where your heart is, well, this is going to be hard for me to comprehend what you're saying. Because I know you can, but here's what I'm getting at. If I'm not mistaken, your heart is an organ.
Mm-hmm. Your mind is like a spiritual essence.
So if your mind is not an organ, it cannot be in the heart. And if it cannot be in the heart, it also cannot be in the brain. Because the brain is just another organ. The only difference is that it's a different kind of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
All right? But that is material. It is what your body is made of.
Mm-hmm.
It's earthman, you know. Now, this thing that you're calling the mind, is it time to go? This thing that you're calling the mind, I think we might want to call it what, the soul?
That's what they call it. Some
Soul?
people call
And
it.
some people call it the psyche.
The conscious.
Well, kind of, but the conscious is going to be a little different.
Yeah.
And I don't want to really go off down another path.
Well, but you're gonna touch on gnosis if you
If we
back
give
that
it-
up.
So is that like hypnosis? Like
Kind of, but no.
okay, so that's another
Hypnosis is going to come from the French, and it's going to be something that. Well, let's not go there right
Okay.
now.
The
Let's
mind.
stay where we-
The mind.
Yeah, let's do that. See, the thing is what I'm trying to get at with you, because we were talking about ignorance,
Right.
and we were talking about belief, and we were talking about knowing. The brain can believe. Now the mind is going to be a problem with the brain. They're going to have a problem. See, because first of all, where's the mind? That was my question. Where is it?
Brother said in the heart.
I know, but the heart is an organ.
Right.
He said
Right.
that the mind
It's a
is
spiritualness.
a
spiritual-
spirit, a
right.
spiritus.
I
think that's what he said.
I don't think anybody knows.
Okay, good, right there. We start quick. We start quick. Yeah. Instead of guessing, just say you don't know. And the quicker you do that, the quicker we allow ourselves
to open up to
to
learn.
say,
That's right.
I don't know, is the quicker we can start the process of learning.
Yep.
and
Now, really,
understand.
this is really important. Everyone that I talk with, they'll tell me, knowledge is power. You ever heard that?
Mm-hmm. From G.I. Joe.
Knowledge is power. That's what they all talk about. And so then I ask them, okay, no problem. If knowledge is power, now, let's see, what's power? Is power energy, work? What is it? Power. Because I want to understand what power is.
To be able to.
So if it's to be able, and to be able is you can work, and you would provide an energy. Oh, now we're going to have to get into desire, which is desire. We're going to have to get into all that.
So that's going to take you to love,
No, we don't-
libido,
yes.
lust.
Whoa. We don't want to do that just yet. We want to go slow. Because the best way to learn is to start like we got a 5,000 piece puzzle and we just pull it out on this table. And we find one small piece.
The corner. Get
That's
the corner
good, the
working.
corner, no problem. And now we've got to locate one small piece to connect to that small piece. And now we've got to take our time and keep finding small pieces to connect them one to the other. Now understand, right now we don't know what the picture looks like.
I was just going to say, so are we the entire puzzle or are we the pieces?
Well, here's what's going to happen. If you take and you piece all of the pieces together, then once you have it all together, you can get the picture.
Yeah.
I remember
Picture.
coming to one of your classes. It was some years ago, actually, and I remember you talking about putting together a timeline. You like you can build a time machine, and I was thinking, man, this man talking about building a time machine, but it was really more about the knowledge and all the pieces that we could put together to be able to get back wherever we wanted to go in time and history. So
Let me add to that. When I remember when I first started studying under Doc, a young man named Jordan brought up the word context. and I had never looked the word context up. And so I believed I knew what it meant. And so rather than sit there and argue, I just turned the dictionary that I had and looked it up. And wow, everything changed from there. Because I saw the word, its origin and its meaning, and all of a sudden it began to make sense. But in order for me to learn something via its context, man, I need to learn everything I can about that time, that person, what the language was, what the political atmosphere was like. And the more I can put that puzzle together, the more I can learn. This young brother just walked in. If I would ask you, how long does it take you to drive to Nashville right now? And what would be the burden of driving? You put some gas in your car, head off 40 East, you'd be there in 3.5 hours. But in 1850, if I said, let's go to Nashville, we got a whole different context that has to happen now. We got to get some guns, because it's going to take us 4 or 5 days, and we're going to be spending the night in the wild. Do you know how many rivers and rivulets and creeks and things you go over that highway to get to Nashville? Well, they didn't have bridges then, not like they have now. So we got to ford some rivers. It's a whole different ball game about to happen just based on a trip that we take for granted today. That is an example of context. Context means to weave, and different fabrics have different weaves. It feels different. So I understand better what I'm seeing. People read something one time and they'll then assume that they know it without examining. If you don't listen, this is what humbled me so much. 2003, and I've been knowing this man since 1994, but I started studying under him in 2003. When he asked that question, what does A mean? And I went, whoa. And the thought hit me, say, man, if you don't know what the letter A means,
That's the beginning.
that's the beginning. What else is it that you don't know? Oh God! And I'm supposed to be one of them smart ones. That's what got me. I was reading 4 or 5 books a week, and then he tells me I was reading, what was that book about Africa?
Oh, Introduction to
African Civilizations. He told me you need to put that down, and I went, but hold on, man. He says you ain't ready for that yet. You need to understand what the basics are. And here's what came up with me inside. You mean to tell me I got to go back and start at the beginning? Yeah, that's what that means. Yeah, you're supposedly smart ass got to start over. And once I got over those thoughts of being dumb and stupid and not knowing how to know, once I put my ego out the way, I was able to now to listen to instruction, because he never told me what things was. He told me this is what he did. He pointed out how to learn for myself.
And if you're learning, now you're getting ready to introduce yourself to the real power. The real power is not knowing. The real power is not knowledge. Get closer. The real power is in the learning. Now you're getting ready to really be able to learn how to understand, because you have to do some things. Like, again, he was saying something about it's in the heart, which is an organ. So if it's not in the heart, because it's not in an organ, it can't possibly be in the brain. And if the mind is not in the brain, then where is it? And the minute you figure out where the mind is the minute you can get in and start getting to know self. But you can't do that until you're really ready to involve yourself with your mind.
And just another, because I remember when I first started, when I first started digging into it and really started doing the work, it can get overwhelming, because once you learn a little piece of it, it's going to send you on another path. And if you're not focused enough to stay right there, you'll be in a whirlwind, chasing your tail. So,
Going up them tributaries, I call it. Ain't nothing up them tributaries.
And so we were talking about the pieces in the puzzle, the 5,000 piece puzzle. And until you piece all of the pieces together one by one, you can't really get the picture.
Right.
Not totally. Hopefully we're going to get the picture, because we've got to really figure this out quickly.
Bradshaw said, hey, Dr. Black.
Who?
Kevin Bradshaw.
Really? Well, you know I'm saying hey. and I'm asking him the same thing I asked you. Are they going to train you to train? Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah.
I got another question, Mr. Black.
Yeah.
So hypothetically speaking, if like the media is trying to push like a race war or something to make people go at each other, what is the solution to get out of it?
This again. Are you suggesting to me that this media that you're talking about is smarter than you?
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that once
Are you
certain
suggesting
images
that the
are-
media is smarter than most of the people in the communities
Most
or
definitely.
neighborhoods that you
Say-
live in?
I
I'm
would say that they
saying
hold
that
significant influence to those types of people.
But
Yeah.
I didn't hear what he said. Say that again.
No, I'm saying like the media would hold significant influence to all sorts of different people. Like most people take their information straight from the media. So that's more or less what she means. It's not more about level of intelligence. It's just most people get their information from the media.
And so
Most people
what
trust
I'm
what they
trying
say.
to do, doing my best, I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring up that level of intelligence that you're talking about. Because I agree with you that if you're saying the media has an influence over most of the people, then in just a few more minutes, this is about to be a real confrontation. Now, I am suggesting that all of the children that I work with are going to be smart enough where the media cannot control their thoughts. They're going to be in control of the way that they're thinking. To that degree, we're smart enough to get around this nonsense that this media that you're talking about that has all of this power, we're going to be smart enough to be more powerful.
But what if those people, like what if the media does reach a mass majority of Americans who start to protest and riot or whatever they think are the means to take it? What's the way to reverse it?
All of my young people, all of them, and though you know me and others know me, I've been doing this for a number of years. Every single youngster that has studied with me, they've come through all of these colleges and all of this on full scholarships, and they've paid their way out of High Park and out of Douglas, you know, out of all of these neighborhoods that they're saying we can't get out of. Now, I am suggesting that the few people that are doing the work, they're going to survive.
I mean, I like to join that as a response. Is that I don't know if there's anything a few people can do to stop idiots from trying to harm somebody. I don't know because I've seen in my lifetime I've seen this story that we're in play out over and over and over. It's just different every time it plays out again. What I heard Doc say, and I agree, that this time people have more than 22s in the neighborhood. You see, in the 60s, probably the most powerful rifle you would have was maybe a 30-06 that held 5 shells. It was no such thing as an AR-15 in 1968.
With 100-round drone.
Yeah, they didn't have that. They didn't have Glocks that you could put 33 rounds in a pistol.
Yeah.
And what I'm telling you, if you don't believe it, on New Year's Eve, go outside and listen. And you don't hear just this, ta 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 ta. You hear this, rah. Well, now that tells me it's somebody got other than a 22 working over there. So it won't be the same, but you still lose if that happens. I understand you need to be able to defend yourself, but everybody loses if it degenerates to that. Now, is it inevitable? I don't know the answer to that. I know what you can do is you can begin to listen to people. Even if you don't necessarily agree, you can listen, because that begins to minimize the conflict. Just because when it gets raised, I got my side and you got your side, and I don't want to hear what you're saying. Well, that's how wars start, believe it or not. That's how wars start. And so right now, I think it was in the newspaper the day before yesterday that there's going to be a series of conversations of race. Is that correct?
Yeah, I saw it, but they're not going to talk about anything.
Wait a minute, hold on. You involved in that?
Oh, I am?
That's the one that was in the paper.
Okay, so they put me in it?
You, myself,
Oh.
Intuit Education.
Then 9 times out of 10, we're going to get to this.
Yeah.
Finally. See, I'm suggesting that Charles Barkley and all the rest of the folks around here that have been trying to talk about race, they haven't been talking about it.
Not really.
No, they haven't. See, because if I decide we're going to talk about race, first thing I'm going to ask you is, where'd it come from?
You got to start at the source.
Go ahead. Where'd it come from?
Where did race come from?
Yeah.
People, I guess different cultures, people.
Hold it, stop before you go too far. I'm just going to give you a hint. Comes from one person initially who was working for a group of people who were trying to create a system, and they had paid a number of people to create the system. And so then they hired some people to create something, which would now be what they would use, so they didn't have to use guns continuously, and they were killing people in order to control them, to work for them. But now if they could put thoughts into their brains, and they hired somebody to come up with a concept that they could use to control people. What's his name?
I'm not sure.
What's his name? Is the
That'd be Johann Friedrich Blumenbach.
That's one of the main people that we have to go and find out about. You got a computer. Did you pull him up?
Oh, I didn't. I
Well-
actually heard this story before.
You've heard it a lot because it takes a lot of times for us to finally get it. There are some other people that were around doing this at the time, but he's the central character in the story.
It kind of converged up to him. He kind of put a lot of the information in and codified it, I think.
So he's Johann Blumenbach. He's a Germanic. That most people think that he was German. Germany was not even in existence at the time. He's a Germanic anthropologist who never actually travels outside of his territory that he lives in. How can you be an anthropologist and you've never traveled outside of the borders of the territory that you live in? But they made up some information, and then they recreated, and then they made it to France, and then they recreated it in France. Because the French also had a group that were conquering just like the British. And then the Dutch had a group that were also going all around conquering just like the British. And they were all fighting for territory. And they were fighting to control people. And how do you make a slave? I'm sorry, how do you make a Slav?
Wait a minute, hold on. You just said slave first, and you reversed.
No, well, I used Snuffy's language, slave. But then I said it correctly because the word is actually Slav, and it comes from exclave. Exclave. So now you go back far enough to find out the origins of something, you might come to know it. But if we don't know anything about this, and then we're going to have conversations about race, we're going to actually talk about an invention that someone created to get into our brains to cause us to act like damn fools.
Oh, and we have ever since. In fact, we would go as far as to embrace the bottom of the totem that we were placed on by these people, and then fight to stay on the bottom of it.
Idiocy. So now I'm suggesting that if we ever learned that race was a concept, an erroneous concept,
Non-scientific.
a hypothetical, non-scientific, erroneous concept created by one man, why should you fight to uphold it?
Because that's boss. He's a so-called white man, so he said it must be true. He said I was Negroid, therefore I have to be Negroid. And since Mama them confirmed it, then I must be this.
So the ignorance of the past is supposed to stay in our brains, and our minds are never supposed to wake up, and we're never supposed to get out of this cocoon that we seem to be trapped in, so that we can make the metamorphosis to actually be more than some little human. We're supposed to be exactly what we were born to be. We were born not just in the image of God, but we were born to be God. So why are we acting like damn fools?
The human race.
That's nonsense.
Okay, so I guess like I wouldn't have a big problem with the whole concept of race if it didn't have things attached to it, because it's like, you know how people identify with like different groups of people, like that's how they did it originally, I suppose. Like different parts of wherever you were, that's what you were. Like, say for example, I'm in Tennessee, so I'm a Tennessean, and you know,
Well,
like
so you're part of a race of Tennesseans.
But maybe I'm hearing you saying that there were negative connotations attached to the different labels.
yes.
Of course there were.
So
That's what he just said.
I understand that, but I'm saying like, what's wrong with identifying or wanting to
Continue to
identify?
identify with that
Like
same
y'all say,
construct.
so-called black people and things of that nature. But if it wasn't anything attached to being like negative attached to being black, what would be wrong with saying that I'm a black person?
Other than somebody named it for me and I didn't choose myself, that's anti-freedom for me. I don't need anybody to create a label and give it to me. That's my choice as a person, as a God. I have the right to decide who and what I am or what I'll call myself. It was I inherited these names, and I inherited color, negro, nigger, African American, black, post African American, Afro American. I inherited all these damn labels, and nobody once say, man, what would you prefer to be called? You know, what would you like to be called? I don't want to be called anything, but right now, Al. That's my name. I know who I am. I don't have to. I'm not going to identify with something that you fought with inferiority. All your descriptions in your dictionary label anything black as inferior, or nasty, or dirty, or evil, and then you tell me I'm that. You tell me I'm that, and now I'm supposed to embrace it. You out of your mind.
So would it be more comforting if we just like let go of all the labels and didn't have anything except people being people? Like I feel like a lot of identity would be lost. Or
How
I
can
don't know, because it's just like I know that we do the whole so-called black people things and all of that, but I enjoy being a part of this group of people.
Okay, but hold on. I think I got some clue where you might be, but understand something. I'm asking you, go back and figure out what was going on in the 60s, and then go back and figure out what was going on in the 50s, and keep going back and understand what some of us had to go through to get to that point that you are now thinking is acceptable, because that was hard.
Yeah, and I kind of so I think when Dr. Black first got his grips on me, one of the first things Dr. Black said was, "Shut up, you're talking too much. I want to keep you alive."
Yes.
And that still resonates to me to this day. Then when I lay down, I remember that. Like, if it wasn't for that, because we can be so into want to say so much and do so much, and show out both our hands, and so. I don't think there's anything wrong with, I ain't gonna say I don't think there's anything wrong. If you want to identify still with black, then it's cool, but I think you still should know the truth. That way you know how to juggle both hands.
I'm not even saying that I want to identify with black. I'm just saying that even if we do drop the labels or whatever, I still enjoy being a part of this group of people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on, Cliff. Let me help you out. Jasmine, let me intervene here. I don't think anybody in this room was born black. I think perhaps two in this room probably chose the label. That would be him and myself, Dr. Black and myself, because we were alive when the label was accepted widespread. This is what we're talking about, the 60s now. You didn't call nobody black in 1962. You got your ass whooped.
If you did.
That's real talk. Black became popular in the mid 60s.
I'm black and I'm proud.
That's a James Brown.
Yeah.
James Brown.
And then some other people. Yeah, but before then we were colored and Negroes. Even Dr. King, if you read those old articles, he's talking about the Negro. Malcolm X is talking about in large part the Negro. And so what happened was some people were de-shaming the term black.
And it took work. It really did.
Oh, there wasn't nothing. Listen, I know people personally that were saying, "Bet nobody better not call me black."
That's right.
Even when we were growing our afros and stuff, They was going, you niggas need to comb your hair and cut your hair off. I remember this growing up. I remember asking permission to grow my hair into a natural, is what we called it initially, and to refer to myself as black. And my dad was like, it's okay.
I even think this what's your name again?
Ricky.
I even think that Ricky should be able to actually be comfortable with his hair like that. I do. But I'm the first to tell Ricky, boy, go cut your hair. But now I'm not trying to tell you to cut your hair because I want to control you. I'm telling you that for the same reason that I would tell this one over here. I'm trying to keep you alive. Because there's somebody out there that's afraid of you. And you got to learn how to behave in such a way the way you control their thoughts in the way that they've been controlling ours for so long. I need you here. You don't need to actually prove to anybody anything. So that means that I need you thinking. Because if you can think correctly, and then guess what? I'm watching now. Now I'm watching him actually writing in a different way. Behaving in a different way. Are you telling me to get off?
That wasn't me. I think that was your boy over there.
And she said, your boy. I know that made she mad. Yikes. That was a boy.
No. See, I'm suggesting, I'm not suggesting that I want to tell you, go do this and go do that. I'm kind of like your grandparents were when they said, don't use that water fountain over there. You remember that?
Yeah. No, they don't.
I didn't live in that time.
You weren't there. But you
yeah.
now,
right here.
and understand, I'm angry. I'm angry at the time that somebody would tell me, you can't use that water fountain.
That water was cold.
Yeah, what you mean I can't use that water
I
fountain?
was warm.
I can do what I want to do.
That.
Huh?
No, I'm saying I believe that.
Yeah, but understand something. You had people, your parents, your relatives, and if they caught you using that water fountain,
You're behind.
they would beat you like you stole something.
And that was to keep them killing you.
Keep
That
you
was to
out of
keep
trouble.
you from getting killed. Now, at this point, I'm suggesting that we're working with children, so I need this child and I need you to learn how to help to educate the little ones so that when the little ones grow up, we got Storm walking around. But don't nobody need to know that that's Storm. No one but Storm. So you're supposed to have the kind of power that is going to be needed to make sure that this one doesn't walk out down Macklemore and get off just because he won't get a haircut. Or this one,
Take out flying.
yeah, it won't be quiet. You follow me? So now you've got to develop the kind of power that enables us to be sure that we can save our own, each other, so that you can be the ones to educate the children, because in just a second, we're gone. But if you don't get this together now, and you see what's happening, and you know, they all talking about, what's the name of the thing we did, Ground Zero?
Ground Zero in Denver.
And you know we've got some people out here cheating off what we did in Denver with Ground Zero. Well, in Ground Zero, we said it was 5 minutes to midnight. Now, y'all, it might be midnight. Y'all better pay attention.
And this was how many years ago did we do that? That was.
I don't know what y'all talking about.
We
the
did
Ground Zero thing.
We did we did a presentation in Denver, Colorado. Inward Journey invited Dr. Black out, and we did a series of things, and it culminated with him doing a presentation to a pretty large audience out there, and we named it Ground Zero, dropping 20 megatons of knowledge, and so it featured him doing this thing, and then we left and went to a radio broadcast
That's right.
afterwards, and it was Sammy McDaniel, Thurman Northcross, Jordan West, and myself and Doc were on that, and we had a CD of it that got pretty popular.
And you can play it on your radio show if you want to.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's what it was, and that kind of kicked off this series of a case of race, the red pill training that we did, Chicago, Denver, against several of them here in Memphis, University of Memphis, the Board of Education. We've done them. These series of symposiums where we would break down what the common belief and what people think they know about certain things, particularly race and some other things too. We would help people establish the foundation, because usually when you discuss race, basically what you hear is anecdotal stories about, well, this happened to me when I was young, and therefore, and no, but this happened to me when I was young, and what I learned, I remember once he did this for the United States Postal Service, about 3 weeks, right, with all these employees, right, and every session he would ask the so-called white people how they get to be white.
Yeah.
Were they born white? And to watch and listen that process is when people finally begin to figure out, whoa, I wasn't born this.
That's right.
Somebody told me this. And I never investigated it. So if you tell me I'm a wombat,
That's right.
then I must be a wombat. And I must behave as a wombat behaves, because you have defined
Who I am.
what my behavior should be. And now I begin to act out on it. I mean, that's insane. So now I expect you to invade my neighborhoods, to set up checkpoints, to treat me as an inferior being, and I would now act as an inferior being based on a lie that was told in 1795. That's been disproved over and over. All the scientists, all the biologists, all the historians that really do the history know that there's no such thing as race. If it doesn't exist, why am I keeping it alive?
That's right.
The question then comes is this: well, if I'm not white, what am I? That's what people say. Well, if I'm not black, what am I? How can you be black in the first place? I am. I'm good enough. I am. Yeah. That's all I need to be is I am. Yeah, I don't give a damn if all my ancestors was cowards and sellouts. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's what they chose. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, your ancestors were slaves. No, I don't think so.
Well, I remember the first time that you actually heard me do that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember how people reacted when I said to them, you know, a slave is the lowest thing on the face of the planet.
Oh, God.
You cannot get lower than a slave unless you are the evacuation of a whale. And when a whale evacuates, it is what it evacuates is at the bottom of the ocean. So slaves are below that. And folks got real upset when I said that. And why did they get upset?
Because they've been inculcated to think that they're slaves and that their ancestors
Their descendants
were
of slaves.
Well,
Yeah.
why would you be the descendant of a slave?
What helped me through that was the question you asked was this: if somebody captures you and puts you in a place where it restricts your liberty, are you a slave or a prisoner? Are you there against your will? Hell yeah. Then that makes me a prisoner.
Not a slave.
Not a slave, I'm a prisoner. And prisoners are always looking to do what?
Escape.
Escape
right.
or fight.
One of the
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
And I know what I got in my gut, what the passion, the fire I carry in my heart. I couldn't be a descendant of a damn slave.
Slave said, there you go, boss. There you go. Right there, under that there boss.
Shit, I won't even talk to the police. It's hard for me to, have a conversation with them. I know that he going. I'm going. Oh, he went that way, boss.
Slaves,
no.
slaves will run, won't they?
No,
Oh, they won't run.
no. They'll lock the gate and tell on your ass.
Oh, matter of fact, let me tell you what happened in 1865. When it was announced that the war was over, in those places that it was announced
Right here.
that the war is over, the slaves walked out of the gate and started walking down the road. And then, do you know what the slaves did? turned around, went back, went through the gate, closed the gate, and locked it. That's what the slaves did. Now, there was some other people there. They kept walking.
Is it any place better than this?
Thing got to be better than what we've been dealing with. And they left. And they faced whatever they had to face. But people who are not ready to face what you have to face, they'll turn around and go back.
Mm-hmm.
And they're quick to lie about this. And next thing you know, you'll be sitting up in the penitentiary trying to figure out how you got there. You got there because a slave sent you there.
Or some of them that never left the plantation. Let's talk about them. Some of them never left the plantation.
Ain't going.
So they got a little dispensation. Boss put them up just a little tad ahead of you, and you still got them today in the city council and places like that. That you got them, and they're gonna tell boss every damn thing you do.
And then wait a minute. Now everybody's arguing about the field nigga and the house nigga. Is that right?
Still nigga.
Still nigga. And not only that, both of them still slaves.
Yeah.
Both of them still slaves. Now, I am suggesting that a lot of people that folks want to call the Tom, what they didn't realize is that the Tom had learned to read, had learned to write. And a lot of Toms learn how to keep their mouths shut. And they could now say, you know what? They're getting ready to sell your wife and children. So y'all need to go tonight. Now, they wouldn't have had that information if it hadn't been for that person that had learned how to read, that had learned how to be quiet and listen, that understood how to do things. They had to teach themselves directions. Now, if you've never learned anything, how do you teach yourself directions when you got to travel at night? You got to know which way to go. You can't see 10 feet ahead of you, and you got to know which way to go. That had to be a feat. And until we're ready to go back and really understand what those people were going through, what they were doing, then we need, all of us, we need to just stop talking about this. And we definitely need to quit calling each other descendants
Of slaves.
I am the ascendant of people. And me personally, I'm the ascendant of gods. I'm not the descendant of anyone. Especially the lowest thing on the planet. Now, someone would say to me, well, you can't be the ascendant of anyone. Why not? I was watching the TV.
There you go again. You can't, so therefore you are. So I define, and the word define means to limit. That's what the word means, to outline.
Right.
So I define even your thoughts, and I tell you, you can't be an ascendant. You must be the descendant.
Well, how did I watch the TV? And I was watching the ascendant to the crown of England going across the Bay Bridge in a black truck. Didn't all of you see that?
Yeah.
And they were here, and they were out in San Francisco and Oakland, and they were riding across the bridge in black trucks. They were the ascendants to the throne. Well, then if they can be ascendants, why can't you be an ascendant? Other than the fact that you can't be an ascendant of a slave. You must be a descendant from a slave.
Thus the power of language.
And words.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Child, are you ready to go? Is that what you do when you telling us?
I'm listening. I'm just taking it all in.
Okay, but now you're not going to actually succumb to all of these folks who, they need your power because you got the power of love. And that's all you like to talk about, is how do we love each other? And you got that power. So everyone now depends on taking that energy from you. Well, I need you to understand that we need to give that energy that you have to our children, only we need them to be able to make sure that in the future we can protect ourselves. How do we keep coming up with facilities like this where they belong to us. Yeah. But go ahead, dear.
Oh no, you go ahead.
No, all I'm suggesting is, I think, is that we learn language and words.
Well, the reason I said language and you said words is that you didn't describe the thing about how
What's up, bros?
you didn't describe about how words create pictures that are imprinted on our brains, which becomes our thoughts.
What color car did you arrive in?
That's a challenging question because it's kind of blue green.
It's blue-green.
Somewhere.
Right now, are you looking at the car?
No sir.
So you just know what it is without even seeing the car. So you didn't even, nothing happened in your brain where you could see the car.
I've just seen it a lot of times before.
You've
so.
just seen it a lot of times.
So that means the
before.
picture has been imprinted deeply.
It's imprinted, and it's actually taking
Kodak.
place in nanoseconds.
Nanoseconds. You don't even know you see the picture.
But see, basically, we do not really think in pictures. We think with words. But originally, you were not sent to this planet thinking with words. Soon as you got to the planet, and whenever your eyes actually opened and started working, you started trying to get information into the brain. You had to look, and everything was a picture. It was someone else later who told you nose, ear,
Labels.
and he started helping you to learn how to identify things. But understand, you didn't come in knowing these things. So it's done through words. They give the picture a symbol. And you start using the symbol in order to communicate the picture in you.
So, Mr. Black, is it safe to say that our families, those systems we are born in, part of that identification of these different things is to help you to survive your environment? Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, but what happens is you get to this institution called school, and because you've been, again, inculcated into a system of some form of trust, you go in there believing you're going to get the same kind of information and comfort, but they have a different agenda.
Your parents are actually sending you into this environment thinking that they can trust these people to look after you and help you to gain information and knowledge. But in fact, I don't think that your parents should actually do that, me personally. You see, the state controls the education that's going to go on in the school. The state does not want you to start thinking in such a way that you can actually compete with the children who run the state.
Come on now.
It's real simple.
That's real simple. You'd be insane to believe that they would educate your babies.
Better than theirs.
Oh, that's insane.
So now at some point, I'm suggesting that you are going to have to get ready. You are going to have to get ready to educate your own children. And you're going to have to do this in such a way where if they won't help your matter of fact, all your life, what did they teach you? A means what? Tell the truth.
Apple.
A means apple, and B means
Banana.
ball, banana. All right, now at some point, wouldn't it be wise that our children actually learn what the letter A means and the letter B, and that it originates out of Africa?
Would.
Huh?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I'll bet you that they will start to get to the point that they'll ace the MCATs. They'll ace the LSATs.
And also just the little thing it does for their esteem. When I explained to my son that, listen, you speaking, the language you speak derived from characters from Africa, which means that those characters create words that create pictures
That's right.
that are imprinted on the world's brain, and they come from Africa. That changes a child's perception of who they are right there. Because nobody can tell you, well, your people didn't contribute anything to civilization. Wait a minute, you're saying that with the very characters that some of those people from Africa created.
I'm glad you're saying that. Hold on. What's your name again? Cole? All right, do me a favor, Cole. Name the countries of Africa.
I don't know all of them.
Just name some. Guess how I know you're going to have a problem? Because if you start with Kenya and Ghana and Nigeria, then that means that you're not doing it in a correct manner to where it's coming out in order. So now we're going to have to learn how to do it in a way so that it's in order. Just like when it comes down on the computer, it's going to come down in a particular order. That's the way it's got to come out of your brain. Whatever it is that you're doing, it has to be order. Once we have the order, now we can deal with everything else that we need to deal with. Till then, we're just junking everything. We just got garbage going on.
Makes sense.
So I'm suggesting that y'all start coming to class. I ride her all the time. Come to class. Come to class.
And when is class?
Every Wednesday at 5:30
At the B Institute?
at the B Institute,
Oh.
2753 Mendenhall.
And what should they bring with them?
If it's possible, bring a dictionary. If it's not possible, then you can possibly use maybe a dictionary that's there at the school. But it'd be wise for us all to acquire our own dictionaries. Say that again? What?
$2 dictionary.
Wait a minute. You know what? You can go to any high school in Memphis, Tennessee, and you can pay 25 cents and get a dictionary, because everybody knows that room that they got with all the books stacked up in that room that no one uses. And they just go in there and you get you one of them books and you sell it for 25 cents. Is it time to go?
5:30.
Before we get ready to go, I would first like to ask y'all to ask the people who are still watching with us, like, what would they like for us to discuss next time? And y'all can also tell me as well.
Well, good question.
Yeah.
What I would love to hear discussed is the application of power. In other words, what happens if you get power? What happens if for some reason you got one of them big checks, they want a reparation check? I mean, I'm not suggesting you're going to get one.
I think that's a good discussion.
Yeah. Well, what would you do? What is power?
Okay, make sure y'all ask the people who are watching. We're definitely going to do another one of these shows next week sometime. So I appreciate y'all for coming.
All right, so that means get out.
Unless y'all want to keep talking.
No, I got to go home. I got to eat.
Unless y'all want to keep talking, I mean. Hey.
I want to thank you, Sister Jazmine, for your dedication to getting real information out.
And come to class.
All right.
Yes,
This is
sir.
Al. I'm out. Hey, Daryl, I went offline, but I'll give you a call.
All right, y'all.
Peace, y'all.
This has been Respect with Jazmine Houston. We'll get back to y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.